When it comes to the war between Israel and Gaza, Benjamin Netanyahu is now reconsidering plans to send a delegation to Washington, D.C. to talk about a potential ground invasion of Rafah. So that was called off earlier this week following that decision in the UN, but now he's said to be reconsidering that and sending a delegation on. Whatever it points to is that the relationship between the United States and Israel is not very good. So joining us now is our US analyst, Michael Ware. I mean, is that putting it lightly that things are not very good between the two nations, Michael?
I've got to tell you, I don't think anyone could ever divide the United States from its support for Israel, the only true democracy in the Middle East, the only democracy that is our forward eyes and ears in the Middle East, whether it's against Arab Islamic groups or whether it's against Iran. Israel is vitally important to Western interests, but mate, I've never seen a divide like this before. This is stretching the tensions to breaking point, okay? Because, okay, on the left, on President Biden's left, he has the progressives who are siding with the Palestinians, not necessarily with Hamas, but with the literally tens and thousands of Palestinian women and children who are being killed. Then on the far, far right, you have the evangelical Christians who are behind Donald Trump, who believe Israel can do no wrong. And if you remember, then President Trump moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv, controversially, to the city of Jerusalem. Well, this conflict is driving a wedge into that relationship because domestically and internationally, America can only be seen to be going so far to support the images that we're seeing on our screen right now.
So what?
Right.
If it's just on that point, I mean, if it's political, right? Because I mean, by all accounts, Joe Biden was very strong for Israel in the initial stages of the war, right? But if it's becoming political now, maybe he's concerned about the election in a few months' time, and you know the left flank of the Democrats. I mean, where are they going to go? They're not going to go and vote for Donald Trump, are they? Kennedy?
No, they wouldn't go and vote for Donald Trump, I believe. And the polls are not clear on this because we saw through the Democratic primaries for what they were. Many of these progressives and it's mostly young people all fired up about...
Right. So maybe they just won't vote for him. That's what the protest might be, if it's political.
They could sit at home.
Right.
It's not like Australia. God bless Australia. We're about a dozen countries on the planet that forces every yobbo every 3 years to show up at a state school and participate in the democratic process.
I'm a proud yobbo, by the way.
Dude,
just putting that on the record.
You know who you're talking to. But we're forced every 3 years to go to a state school and get a sausage roll for our efforts.
Yeah.
All they have to do is stay home. But no, this has gone beyond domestic politics. I mean, yes, in states like Michigan, believe it or not, the home of, the American car industry, Dearborn, Michigan has a massive Arab population. So do other key centers in the United States. So it's not just Arab Americans, it's young, progressive Americans on campuses who think they know better than the rest of us. They could all stay home. They're not going to vote for Trump, but they could just stay home. But it goes beyond that. This has gone beyond that.
Okay.
Israel is pushing a line that even the international community is having trouble struggling with.
I've only got 30 seconds left, but I wanted to talk to you about Russia as well. So we'll attempt this because we've spoken so much about ISIS in years gone by. Following that terror attack last week, is ISIS back? Can we expect more of these random attacks, particularly by its offshoots?
All right, mate. Okay, very, very quickly. This is like a horror movie franchise that went quiet and has come back. It's like The Omen or The Exorcist or something. We think they're dead and gone, but then these franchises come back to terrify us. ISIS has gone nowhere. Remember when they took over half the Middle East and created the Islamic Caliphate that was the size of the United Kingdom? Well, as we said back then, even when we defeat them on land, which the US and the Kurds and the Iraqi Arabs did, ISIS would just retreat back or refer back to its fundamental DNA, which is an underground terrorist organization. And that's what we're seeing. And it's regrouping in parts of Africa and elsewhere, but most particularly, it's the Islamic State in Khorasan. That's their word, or that's their term for Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, this is the Islamic State who bombed the front gate of the Kabul airport when everyone was trying to get out. But this is also the Islamic State that is fighting the Taliban.
Yeah.
Yet this is also the Islamic State that, as the head of US Central Command says, within 6 months, we believe this group can reach out and strike Europe. Now, about 6 months ago or a little more, they launched an attack on a ceremony for a general that we assassinated in Iran. America warned Iran it was coming.
Yeah.
Again, this time, America warned Russia they're going to attack a public event like a concert. But the Russians are so paranoid, they think, oh, this is American sort of disinformation, this is Ukraine, this is whatever. The Islamic State has not gone away, mate. It's like a cancer. It metastasizes.
The ideology is still there. Michael, we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great weekend.